All right, so I'll tweet out a link, and we won't start yet.
Okay.
There's a little lag between going live and YouTube, so I'll have to keep refreshing the page until it says we're live, which is kind of annoying, but YouTube's going to YouTube, so... Okay, it says we're live now, so I'm going to go to that. I'm going to copy that. Okay. I'm going to go to Twitter. Hey! At little tweets.
Yeah, that's good. And then we'll
retweet
it, or I'll retweet it.
Bill Trubs and myself going live on YouTube right now to talk about the MLB postseason. Come check it out, ask questions, and generally vibe.
I love it.
See ya there. Semicolon, paste link, tweet. Okay.
There you go. I just got it. Treat that puppy. All right. Should we give this thing a shot?
Let's go. Let's do it.
Or should we wait a sec? What do you think?
Let's give it a second. Can we see how many people are?
Yes. Can you guys see? Right now it's 0.
I cannot see.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I'm sure you can, so just let us know when people get in here. If they do.
If they do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to retweet it from the IU Sports Media Twitter account as well.
Also, good
And
call.
the out of play account too, right?
Yes, sir. Good call.
I mean, if we're live, we are live. So
Yeah.
We are 100%
technically
live.
we can start whenever, but
Yeah. Is this something people do typically? Like, is there usually like a lag to like, I guess, post the
for
link?
people to get in here. Yeah.
Okay, because I don't watch a lot of like live YouTube.
It happens.
Okay.
and it's our, we'll perfect it as we go along.
Yeah.
It's our first time, people. Give us a break.
True.
Please.
And I'll let you all in the future if you want to try out hosting, seeing what I'm seeing, if that would help. I don't know.
Worth a shot. Oh man,
Yeah.
I lost all the links I had. Google Chrome crashed on me. I had a bunch of. How horrible? How horrible is that?
All right, so the YouTube comments do work. I can confirm.
As well. There's our faces close up.
All right, I'm good to start whenever. I think we're good to start whenever.
Okay. All right. Oh, we have one viewer. Great.
No, it was me.
Oh.
Hey, better than nothing.
That's great. At least you guys are
inflating your own statistics.
Hey guys.
I like it.
Nice. All right. We'll get going here. So welcome in. This is a little new for us here. This is the Out of Play podcast presented by IU Sports Media. Thanks for being with us wherever you're watching from, probably YouTube. I'm Jordan Gould. Alongside me to my right here, or left. Oh, I looked the wrong way. Jackson and Will here. Jackson Kinney and Will Trubshaw.
Hello.
It's been a while, folks, but I think our last time we talked was May, I believe. We were talking about baseball and their ongoing talks to have a season with the whole, I guess, money disputes and players. And now here we are, 60 games later, or 58 if you're the Cardinals and Tigers. We're here. We made it all the way through, and we are going to have a postseason, bearing any maybe coronavirus, maybe outbreaks or things like that, which, right, especially this year, I mean, we can never really count out anything. But, yeah, how are you all? And, good to have baseball back, right? I mean, a postseason, definitely.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm
sir.
doing good. Honestly, I'm impressed that the MLB got through the season, especially like early in the year, the Marlins had that big outbreak. The Cardinals. There are a slew of teams that got affected by this, and I didn't think that baseball would be able to get it off the ground, not having the bubble set up that the NHL and NBA did. But I mean, you look at it; they got through the 60-game season, and they're staring down the playoffs, and then they are going to treat the playoffs once they get past the wild card round more like a bubble. So it seems like in a way they're kind of making it safer. But I mean, I'm impressed. I'm happy that there was baseball this year. It kind of gave us something else to look forward to outside of the NHL and NBA playoffs. Not that those haven't been great, but more than anything, it's kind of nice that we're talking baseball again. It's been so long. But now, especially coming up on the playoffs, I think no better time for us to get started, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, for real. I've got a lot to say regarding, you mentioned the Cardinals and the teams affected, because just a few things. It's fine. But yeah, no, it's I'm very excited for the postseason, as you can probably tell. I'm a Reds fan, so
yeah, I think we all are. I mean, all our teams are in. Like, this is the first. I don't even know the last time the Indians, Reds, and Cubs were all in the playoffs together at the same time. So I mean, from a fan standpoint, we definitely have a lot to be happy about.
Yeah, and I think it was very difficult. I mean, I guess the opposite. It was not very difficult given the postseason format that was kind of laid on this year. And honestly, we could start there because this is a new year, and obviously this has been a weird year for all sports. I mean, we've seen bubbles. We'll see something similar to that as the MLB postseason advances. But yeah, really, there's just a lot of differences, and I think there's some things that I like personally with this new layout, but also maybe things that aren't so great. I don't know, but again, a 60-game season, if it was a sprint as opposed to the 162-game marathon, and that was a big difference from the start. And of course, these teams, you played your respecting, I guess, geographically, you played your division, and then you played teams in the same geographical area. So, AL Central versus NL Central, etc. So what did you guys think? How did the regular season flow? I mean, there were some hiccups with the Marlins early on, right? At the very beginning. And I personally remember feeling, oh wait, Jackson's right there. There you go. I'm still learning here, folks. There you go. Wait, there we go. I'm still feeling, that I remember when Miami had that whole outbreak, I'm like, I don't know how we're getting through a season. I just remember the amount of pessimism that there was. And then the Cardinals, same thing happened there. And the Cardinals, I can't believe they got through their season, to be honest. I mean, granted, 2 games short, yes. But the amount of double headers that they played, I mean, it was just unbelievable. So, I got to give credit to them for even getting themselves in a position to make the postseason at 30-28. Definitely, I think hats off to them. I think that's very difficult to do. So,
I think,
what do you guys
hats off to? I was going to say hats off to the Marlins too. They made the playoffs, and they had. I'm going to look it up because I read it somewhere, but they made like over 100 roster moves. Here,
wow.
I'm gonna.
Yeah, the Marlins are one of my favorite stories going into this because they shouldn't be here.
Yeah, here Jason Stark for The Athletic made the case that Don Mattingly should be manager of the year. Here's why: the team made 170 roster moves in 2 months. It made 40 roster moves in 1 week, and there was a stretch of 28 consecutive days where they made at least one roster move. I mean, that's ridiculous. Like the amount of moving and shaking, and they still got it in the playoffs. Like they're there. To me, that's incredible. I cannot believe they did that.
Yeah. The Marlins getting to that position. I agree. Don Mattingly, got to give him credit.
They had a speed skater playing second base.
Yeah, like it's insane.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I would not have expected them to be like where they're. But I mean, the whole format of the season and stuff. I think the regular season, I thought it was cool because I mean, the division games are the most important to making the playoffs, and then playing the teams like in the AL Central, if you're in the NL Central, and vice versa. I mean, it made sense. I had wished that they'd come to an agreement sooner. Everyone, now that we've had this season, it's nice to look back and say we had a season. But at the same time, there was a point when they very realistically could have gotten in 80 to 100 games, in which case they probably wouldn't have had to be limited to this schedule necessarily. I mean, obviously, it worked out well in the sense of like it was kind of like I want to say like a bubble, but like you weren't having to travel East Coast to West Coast and stuff. People were everyone's kind of locked into their areas. So in hindsight, that might have worked well. But I mean, the season could have been much longer and stuff. And that, to me, that's disappointing because I think then, it still would have been perfect. We wouldn't have gotten the 162 games that everyone's so accustomed to. But I think then you get a clearer picture because, I mean, there are definitely – I think most of the teams that have made the playoffs in this scenario, I would say they're deserving. I don't think it's like – maybe except for the Astros that finished 2 games under 500.
Well, the Brewers are under 500 as well.
And the Brewers.
But that was bound to happen with how weird things were.
And just on a shortened schedule. In a 162-game season, even if you did a 16-team playoff like this, probably all the teams that made it would be over 500.
Well, it happens in the NBA and the NHL too, where teams who might not have a shining record, who might be under 500, make the playoffs, and it's not a huge deal.
No, I agree, but I think personally, I think in a normal year, if the format had been like this, I don't think it would be as extreme as it is in like the NBA and NHL, because again, the baseball season is so long, it just gives you time to teams to really weed that stuff out. Maybe you would get the occasional below 500 team. I mean, there have been some like low 80 win teams that have made the playoffs before with the wild card formats, so it's possible. But I feel like overwhelmingly, you'd probably have teams with winning records making baseball playoffs if it were like this all the time. That said, I mean, I don't want to keep talking too much, but I mean, the whole 18 playoff, I feel like that's got to be like a one-off kind of thing.
Here's my thing with it is I love it. I love it so much. Just think about it. The last week, there have been like 6 or 7 fan bases hanging on every pitch to see where they would end up. As a Reds fan, I was doing that. I know Brewers fans were. Giants fans, even though they didn't make it, they were. White Sox fans were keeping up with the race. Blue Jays fans were the same way. I think there hasn't been a more exciting run-up to the postseason in a long time. I think this format is gold, and it needs some tweaks here and there. Like the Rays and the Dodgers and the A's and the Braves should get a bye in the first round for being the top 2 seeds, or even you could do the 3 division winners get a bye in the first round if you want to work that out somehow, just giving the best teams a reward for being the best instead of sticking them in these weird 3-game series. But other than that, I love this format. Just looking at the matchups with Braves Reds, Cubs Marlins, Padres, Cardinals, and the Dodgers, Brewers just in the National League. Those are great matchups, and that's a lot of drama right there, and more so than you get in a normal postseason.
Yeah,
true.
I love it personally. I think something that. Oh, sorry. Well, let's see here. I'm still learning here. All right. I think if I'm in the left-hand corner, then I can go like that. Okay. So yeah. So I do like the current format. I think something that I personally have had an issue with watching baseball growing up is, to me, it's such a long season, right? The 162 games that we've talked about, that, in my opinion, typically you have the 3 division winners plus 2 wild card teams. And it used to be, that wild card games, honestly, I mean, that's a fairly new concept. It used to be just 1 wild card team, I believe.
Yeah, they started in 2012. With, the Cardinals and the Braves and the weird infield fly rule, I believe. Like, right. They got off to a pretty infamous start. So
think about how, just how new that it was. It was 4 teams for a while, and then we added a 5th, and now here you are with the strange year, and now it's up to 8. I think there's some balance there between 5 and 8. 8 might be too many. We don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's kind of like the NBA where we have the debates. Oh, should you even make the playoffs if you're below 500? And similar here in baseball where we had the Brewers and now the Astros both this season qualify for the postseason under 500. But I do like the format. I think it makes things more exciting. And I do agree with you, Jackson. I do think that teams like the Dodgers or the Rays, both the 1 seeds in their respected leagues should probably get some sort of bye because, especially you look at some teams are just bad matchups for certain teams. I mean, you look at, I think the Dodgers have a very favorable matchup with the Brewers, who I would say don't have a necessarily stacked or top heavy rotation, but say that they ended up playing a team like a Cincinnati, who I believe finished with the 7th seed in the National League.
They did.
Yeah. Cincinnati's got a nice trio of Bauer, Sonny Gray, and Luis Castillo.
So are we about to get into the matchups? Because I do have some things to talk.
I don't want to stay away from that, but I'm just like, we'll get there. But the point being, I think they're in a 3-game series. It can get kind of tricky, which is why I've never really liked the 1-game wild card. I think a wild card round should be 3 games, and then from there maybe like a 5-game format. But I think that I like the changes they're making, and I know that Rob Manfred's gotten a lot of crap for a lot of the changes he's made, like the runner on second base rule, which is another new rule this season, beginning in extra innings. But I think some things have worked and some things haven't. And, I got to give him credit for at least experimenting things and trying things. I know there's a lot of old fashioned people that think the game has to be played a certain way, and I get it, but I think
the future is now.
The future is now. The future is now.
I'll say this. I think the thing that I dislike the most about the playoff is just the format. In that, it's the top 3 teams, the 3 division winners, and then the 3 second place teams in the division, and then the other 2 wild cards. I feel like it should be based more on record. I think
so just the top 8 teams in general.
Well, I like the idea of the 3 division winners getting the top 3 seeds, but then from there, because there are a couple teams that they've got. I think actually it might be the case of the White Sox. They're 34 and 26.
35 and 20. They're 35 and 25.
They fell victim to being in one of the best divisions in the league.
Same record as Cleveland. Cleveland finished with 4th seed. Chicago finished at the 7th. Same record.
Well, it's just because Cleveland had the tiebreaker.
Right.
Well, yeah, but so to me, having a 35 and 25 team as the 7th seed, and then you have the Astros who are 28 and or
29 and 31. Yeah.
29 and 31. Mm-hmm. As the 8th seed. Or are the Astros higher than the White Sox?
The Astros are. They're the 6th seed.
Because they were second in their division. So yeah, I mean that's a problem that gets run into in the NHL and NBA. I know, depending on how they're set up and stuff. So to me, I feel like that's something that could get worked out. But overall, I guess I don't mind the expanded playoffs that much. For me, the biggest thing is I guess you can't read too much into it because it was just a 60-game season. I was rambling on about earlier. It's just a matter of I think in a regular season, the results would look a lot different and stuff. I think it would be you'd have more realistic layouts too of what the postseason would look like. I don't think necessarily that we would get a 35-win team as the 7th seed necessarily. It could work out better. It's just I think the way the cookie crumbled this time around. But yeah, it's I don't know. The format with that is kind of weird, and that's kind of where my only issues with it came. But this could move into the matchups too. But this is more seeding and how it works. But with the Cardinals, my issue there is they came up 2 games short of playing all 60 games, right? Due to whatever the coronavirus, and they're missing so many games and all the doubleheaders. But there was an option on the table for them to play 2 games against Detroit today in a doubleheader to get 260 for both teams. But the MLB chose not to, which is weird to me because I feel like they should have been able to get in all 60 games if they had the chance. So this has led to Cincinnati and St. Louis having the same winning percentage, but St. Louis gets the 2nd seed in the Central Division because they played 2 less games, basically, which sits weird with me because I feel like maybe Detroit takes both games. Maybe St. Louis wins both and they keep the 2nd spot in the division, but this could have affected seeding and could have given Cincinnati the 5th seed in playing San Diego. But just little things like that are my only issues, but that's very specific to this year and not the format in general.
Yeah, I think that's you kind of gotta. I guess you got to take the whole postseason with a grain of salt too, or like the postseason format that is.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But
I
yeah,
think in a normal year it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. But I hope they get rid of the starting on second base rule in extra innings and the 7-inning doubleheader thing. Those are terrible.
I
That's
like
why.
the 7-inning doubleheaders. I think they're fun.
Oh man, no. What? This isn't like American Legion ball. Are you kidding me? Come on, no. You
Well,
got to
like,
play
it-
two.
Well, here's another rule that just kind
Four-
of got slid in. What about the
four-
DH in the National League?
Oh, I 100%
National
keep
Leaguers.
it.
Keep
I'm
it.
fine with
Okay.
it.
Keep it. Why not?
Y'all don't want to see Bartolo Colon swing a bat anymore?
I mean, he still
That would
can.
actually be the only reason I'd say get rid of it. Is like I want to see Bartolo keep swinging it, but
He still
Yeah.
could. They could still theoretically put in a pitcher to pinch hit and then
True.
put him in the field and just make him a two-way guy like Michael Lorenzen.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think from this point, there's plenty of matchups to look at. You see below the banner going across Tampa Bay and Toronto. That first matchup, the 1-8. Toronto, guys, a team that I don't think anyone really saw making the postseason. I mean, granted, 8 teams in each, league. There's plenty of opportunities there for teams such as like Miami, who made the postseason, and a team like Toronto. But I think it was a surprise. I think the Blue Jays, a lot of people felt that they're maybe a year or two away from maybe starting to get into contention. But, here they are against Tampa Bay. So 2 teams, an American League East matchup. And it'll be interesting. They have Lourdes Gurriel Jr. for the Blue Jays. He's got 11 home runs on the year. Teoscar Hernandez has been big to go along with Randall Grichuk, who have been their biggest contributors. Players they haven't really had to rely on. Like it's kind of, I think, taking some pressure off of guys like Vlad Guerrero. And then I believe they brought in this year Hyun-Jin Ryu. I think, did they sign him this year? Or is this his second year? I don't know. I don't remember. But either way, he's been great. I think this is his first season with the Blue Jays, but he's been fantastic.
Yeah, Cy Young contender for the Jays.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think he's a contender. I mean, I don't think he's going to win it.
No.
I think there's a guy on my team that's pretty good, but I will say, and what about the Rays as well? I mean, as the 1 seed, I mean, everyone talked about the Yankees, especially in that division coming into the season. And I think there was a lot of maybe surprise there that the Yankees, we'll get to them later, just kind of never, again, injury. They battled the injury bug this season, and the Rays kind of took advantage.
I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but earlier before the season started, I was talking with my co-director at iOS TV Sports alongside Trisha Whitaker, who is a sideline reporter for the Tampa Bay Rays. And we all came to the consensus that the Rays would make the World Series. So I have seen the Rays as this really well put together team with a lot of talent and a lot of depth. And them being 1 seed, sometimes my genius is frightening. But yeah, no, the Rays, watching them last year and coming into this year with guys like Blake Snell on the mound, Austin Meadows in the field, even some of the guys you don't really hear about, like Mike Brosseau, like they've got a lot of depth and are really, really good. And to me, it's no surprise they're number 1 in the AL East and number 1 in the AL. To other people, it's kind of catching them off guard just because they're Tampa and it's a small market and people don't pay them any attention, casual fans especially. But yeah, Tampa being there really is no surprise if you looked at them before the season started and just as the season was going on in its earliest stages.
Yeah, I mean, for a long time now, the Rays have been a consistently really good team, always kind of floating around in that AL East picture. I mentioned Don Mattingly earlier for a potential NL manager of the year. I think Kevin Cash could certainly get a lot of consideration for the Rays because, again, he's taken a team that's got about a quarter of the Yankees' payroll and guided them to the playoffs. I mean, he is the winningest manager in Rays history, more than Joe Madden. I mean, the guy, he's an incredible manager. What he does with this team year in and year out, I mean, maximizes the talent injection. Like you said, I mean, we knew it last year. The Rays have a phenomenal pitching staff. They kind of got hosed in a way because they were in the wild card. They got 1 game. I think this format definitely benefits them too because you've got 3 games now. You can throw out any one of the guys you have on that pitching staff I mean, the offense too, again, has been they've got a lot of pieces. You know, they don't have a lot of household names. You know, they don't have Evan Longoria anymore. It's not like that, but I mean, they've got guys top to bottom on that lineup. They get the job done. That's the only way I can describe it. And year in and year out in a normal season, I mean, this is another 90+ win season for me.
Yeah.
If they just put out 15 minutes ago, they just put out their 3-game starters for the series. And if you'd like to hear them, I have the Blue Jays too. Some teams have released it, some teams haven't. So this will be hit and miss as we go along. But the game 1 starter for the Rays will be Blake Snell. That you could have seen that a mile away. The game 2 starter will be Tyler Glasnow. And then game 3, if necessary, will be Charlie Morton. And for the Blue Jays, it's going to be Matt Shoemaker. It was Hyun-Jin Ryu in game 2. And then, again, game 3, if necessary, it's going to be Taijuan Walker.
Wow.
So it's a good pitching matchup on both sides. Game 2 with Glasnow versus Ryu will be a lot of fun in my eyes.
Yeah, that's going to be fantastic.
I honestly can't lie. I don't know that much about Matt Shoemaker, i.e. the 2020 season. But yeah.
So I will say, not to kind of ruin the whole or jump on the bandwagon or getting in it, but I don't think the Rays. I don't know. I'm not huge on them, and I'll tell you why. I've just looked at their lineup. It's just Brandon Lau is a good hitter. He's a quality hitter. They got guys like Joey Wendell. I mean, they have some pieces there. But when you stack them up against maybe a powerful offense, and you have to keep in mind that they only play teams in their division. I mean, they played teams in the National League East. But when you look at the competition they played compared to, I would say maybe the Central, which I think was the most competitive in the National League and American League this season, I think the Rays maybe took advantage of that situation a little bit, just because you think Boston was really bad. They had no pitching. Baltimore was not great.
Baltimore was decent this year.
They were decent, but they were still bad.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, they weren't good. The Yankees just couldn't stay healthy. They were good enough to make the postseason and they'll compete, but I don't know. Like, the point being, I don't know if the Rays have really been challenged. And you look at the National League East as well. I mean, maybe Atlanta. I mean, out of teams they played, I mean, the National League East was fairly weak this year too, I would say.
In the 4 games the Rays played against the Braves, they split them 2-2.
Sure. And Braves are the best team in the National League. No. So I'm not going to necessarily jump on. I could see them, and we'll talk about later about teams that could potentially maybe get upset, if you want to call it that. But I don't know. I like to see a little more from the Rays.
I just don't see the Blue Jays upsetting them. Is my thing. I can see the Rays, and they're either going to play, if they move on, they're either going to play Cleveland or New York. So maybe then it'll be a little weirder. But I don't see Toronto posing that much of an issue for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I think they're still like a year away from being like a deep threat in the playoffs. You know, obviously anything could happen. But I mean, outside of Hyun-Jin Ryu, I don't know how much I trust their pitching. I don't know much about Matt Shoemaker either. And their bats, I think for me, they're just still too young. I don't think they have enough experience yet. But then at the same time, youth can also be a benefit. You know, that blind like ignorance, like I can do whatever I want.
I was about to say, in some points, you can be so young to where you don't understand the gravity of the situation, so you just go out and play like nothing's happening. You know, you just go and hang out, and you're playing baseball. Some players are intimidated by the stage, but sometimes you're just so unaware of how big a stage it actually is that it doesn't bother you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Amen.
All right, so we'll move on to the next matchup you see on your screen there. Oakland and White Sox. So Oakland A's and Chicago White Sox in a 2-7 matchup. You go from one small market to another with Oakland. I mean, it's just kind of impressive that the A's just continually are able to get in the postseason. And really, I mean, them and the Astros have basically ruled the American League West. But I mean, this year, Houston kind of fell flat.
Yeah.
Don't know what that's about, but I don't know. Interesting enough, though, I think what's impressive about Oakland is that their best hitter best qualifying hitter was Mark Hanna, who batted 246.
Yeah, I was going to say something about him.
246, and that was the best average on the team, like of qualified players. Yet that they just find ways to win games. They have a sound bullpen and a decent pitching staff, and they were just able. But again, it might be another scenario where you have another weak division. Kind of. I mean, I think the American League West was. I'd say it's definitely weaker than the American League East was, but maybe they were just kind of preying on the teams such as the Rangers, the Mariners, the Angels, who I don't understand how they just continually just can't figure it out with the roster that they have. But Oakland plays Chicago White Sox, who I think were one of the best stories of this season. In particular, you look at their lineup with they brought in Luis Robert, what they call him, the man child. He was fun to watch. Lucas Giolito, who threw the no-hitter. And it's amazing when I watch him pitch. I mean, he has 2 pitches, change up and fastball, and he just consistently gets guys out. I think he's got the best 2 pitches. Like, I haven't seen a pitcher that's been able to just be as effective as he has with just 2 pitches. Basically, I mean, he mixes it in and off of curveball here and there, but like his changeup is just like bread and butter. That's what he uses.
Right.
And you have guys like Tim Anderson, Jose Abreu. I mean, Tim Anderson's. I mean, he is. I think people got to start really knowing his name. He won the batting title. I think it was last year, but I mean, still, I don't think people really are giving him the maybe notoriety that he deserves.
I'm very excited that Tim Anderson gets to finally be on a national stage because he deserves it so much. He's one of the most fun players to watch, and just the White Sox in general are one of the most fun teams to watch. Last weekend when the Reds were playing the White Sox in a 3-game series, just getting to watch Luis Robert and Tim Anderson and Jose Abreu and listen to them on the radio and listen to them play. They are such a fun team to keep up with, and I think they're the best team in Chicago. Will, I'm sorry. And I know the last series the White Sox and the Cubs played before the postseason doesn't really show that, but I think the White Sox are the best team in Chicago. I don't know. They're just such a fun team. And I think this matchup is the one where we can see – I don't want to say it's an upset because both teams are kind of similar in record and talent, but just the seeding worked out to where it would be an upset. I think this is where we would get our first upset as the White Sox over the A's.
I'd have to agree with that. I think it's certainly possible that, the White Sox could do it. They've got a lot more firepower. Again, they fell victim to what we were talking about earlier as a team with a really good record, but because of how the playoff seeding broke out, they get stuffed in the 7th seed. So I think if you're the A's, you're probably almost more upset about that because you're not really facing a true 7th seed. If you're facing the Astros, you'd be like, oh, well, I mean, they didn't play that well this year. But the White Sox have been remarkable. This is easily their best season since like 2008, which I think that was the last time they made the playoffs. Last time the Cubs and Sox made the playoffs together was 2008. So I mean, it's they are just such a deep team. That entire lineup, top to bottom, and there's a lot of scary hitters. The White Sox didn't even have Eloy Jimenez this weekend against the Cubs, and they still almost took 2 or 3 from the Cubs. But I mean, one thing that concerns me about the White Sox, you mentioned Lucas Giolito, and I think. Last year he was definitely, I think, a Cy Young contender. This year not as much, but I mean he threw the no-hitter. He is their unquestioned ace. Now the name's escaping me. I forget who their number 2 pitcher
Dallas
is.
Keuchel. I mean, Dallas Keuchel was very good this year for him. He had a 199 ERA. So I mean they have some good pitching, but I'd say Giolito is the number 1 guy. I think they throw him out in game 1.
And here's the other issue though, is that outside of them, I don't know how much Rick Renteria can trust the bottom 3 pitchers in their rotation because those are the 3 guys that went against the Cubs. Dylan Cease gave up 10 runs.
Yeah.
The next day, I want to say Dane Dunning, I think it was, pitched in the middle game. He gave up the grand slam to Chris Bryant, but that was it. So he settled in ultimately. But then yesterday, it was. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting the name now.
While you try to remember that, there is one
I think it was
pitcher.
Reynaldo Lopez. But I mean,
Yeah,
all combined, those three guys plus the bullpen guys that came in gave up 25 runs in 3 games. You know, it's nice to have the 1-2 punch at the top of the rotation, but if you advance to that, and you know, maybe in the wild card round you can get by.
Yeah.
When you advance to the later rounds, like the divisional, if you get to the LCSs where it's 7 games, you're going to need more than just 2 guys to pitch. It's not impossible, especially if you can trust your bullpen. But I don't know how much Rick Renteria trusts his bullpen right now either, because they've had some rough outings. You know, they've had Carlos Rodon and Gio Gonzalez coming out of the bullpen, and they have not looked great. They're coming off injuries. They're still rusty. You know, maybe by the time the playoffs really get rolling here, they'll be okay. You know, they can kind of get back into a rhythm. But to me, that's the thing I'd be most concerned about if I'm a Sox fan. The offense, though, no, that offense is almost infallible. I mean, outside of Robert, who was struggling a little bit at the end of the season, which you expect out of a rookie, you know, they're always going to hit that wall once pitching adjusts to them. But I mean, that lineup the veterans and the young guys they got in there are just incredible.
There's one guy on the White Sox that I want to bring up before we move on, and it's their draft pick from the summer, Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, man.
This kid is something special. Yeah. He got called up, the first player from the 2020 draft class to be in the majors, and then I was listening to the game on the radio when they were playing Cincinnati, and this kid is a lefty sitting 100 on his fastball.
Oh, yeah. And it's a pretty effortless 100, too.
He's incredibly special, and who knows? Maybe Crochet makes a big moment, a big coming out moment on the stage of the playoffs. I don't know. I just wanted to bring up Crochet's name because this kid is going to be something special. Yeah. And I feel like with a bunch of the White Sox prospects right now, you can say that.
So go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
I was just his windup reminds me of Aroldis Chapman, the way he just like loads back his back leg and just explodes. I mean, it's a little uncanny, but yeah, the guy is man, it's scary. He made the Cubs look like, I mean, he's made everyone he's faced this year look ridiculous, but like, he's got nasty stuff. He'll be a big piece for the White Sox for sure.
For sure.
So looking at that matchup, Oakland, Chicago with the White Sox, I mean, again, just one game separates them in the win column. The Oakland's one game better at 36-24. So do you guys like, the White Sox taking that 3-game series, or do you guys think Oakland could pull that out?
No, I think the White Sox are going to move on. And I don't have much else to say because we covered a lot of them and we spent a lot of time on them.
Yeah. Well,
the A's are good, but I don't think they're going to beat the White Sox. You know, if the White Sox, the last 2 games of the series against the Cubs, they started swinging the bats again. And that's all they needed. They kind of been cold after playing the Indians and stuff. They're in a bit of a funk. I think they got it back, and they got it back just in time.
Yeah, so, Jordan, I have a question for you. Do you want to talk about Houston, Minnesota, or move on to your guys in New York?
So I'm doing Houston. We'll do Houston, Minnesota, because we're just going in order based on seeding. So like we did 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, and then we'll do 4-5. So 3-6, we're looking at Minnesota and Houston. Kind of weird to have the Astros as a 6 seed, but especially of where they've been in recent years. But that's where we are. And the Twins yet again win the American League Central, and what was yet again another competitive season. The White Sox were really good. Cleveland was good as usual, and the Twins were right there as well. Maybe the offense wasn't where it's accustomed to for Twins fans of late, like last year where they had guys like Eddie Rosario, Max Kepler, just swinging for the fences. Nelson Cruz was fantastic, but a competitive division nonetheless. So I think that'll be a firepower series. Like the bats will be out specifically for the Twins. I think. I don't know. I know Houston is. I don't know. I know they have. I don't know. More for Minnesota, I would say, but yeah.
Listen, Minnesota, they're a fun team, but I don't know. They're a little weird. They'll move on just fine in this round. I don't think Houston's going to be an issue for them because they've got the best home record in the league, and the Reds taking 2 out of 3 against them in the last weekend of the season was an anomaly. It was like one of the maybe the second or third time all season that somebody had taken a series from Minnesota at home. So they'll move on just fine. And we've spent a lot of time on Houston in the calendar year of 2020 already. So,
yeah, 219 batting average for Jose Altuve. When I was looking up the numbers today, I was like, wow, that was pretty crazy.
It turns out batting's a lot harder when you're doing it straight up.
Yeah, but
tipping you off, yeah.
I don't know. I think Minnesota, though, should they advance, I think they'll be. I don't think anyone wants to play Minnesota. I mean, granted, I know they've had some issues. I know when they played the Yankees back in 2017, I think it was, where they had that big lead,
wild card game. Yeah, that was weird.
And then what was it last year? I'm trying to remember who they played, but they lost, I think, early on as well, and it was kind of a disappointment. But I don't know. I like what they have, and Paul Molitor. I think they're just really a sound team. I wouldn't want to play them. I mean, they always play the Indians really tough, and I don't know. I think, but I expect Minnesota to win that series. So
yeah, Minnesota's. I don't think they'll have much trouble with Houston, and then they'll go on. And the perfect world that we're predicting, they'll go on to play the White Sox, and that'll be a fun divisional matchup because they've gone back and forth all year.
Yeah. So I guess looking ahead, Cleveland and New York, the Yankees, kind of an interesting matchup for several reasons. I mean, one being everyone had the Yankees penciled in as the World Series pick before, but gone, with injuries and whatever else. I mean, I think it'll be an interesting series because you match up Cleveland's pitching with that New York offense, where you had a guy like Luke Voit, who came out of nowhere, hit 22 home runs for the Yankees this year. A guy like DJ LeMahieu, who is really solid. I mean, I think he hit, was it something crazy, like 364. Yeah, 364 batting average, which is unbelievable. So I think that'll be really fun. You look to game one, it'll be Garrett Cole, probably against Shane Bieber, I believe is what I saw. I think that's
Cleveland.
That's going to be
for sure.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Garrett
yeah,
he is, but Garrett Cole is very good.
Yeah,
he is, but he's got to get run.
Better.
But he's got to get run support though, and the problem is Cleveland is talented for it. Yeah, I mean, you're right, but I don't know. You look head to head. I think that's it. It's tough. That's just a tough matchup because I mean the Yankees are just they can hit, and Cleveland can't. I've watched them all season. They just are challenge. They averaged. I mean,
once you get past Shane Bieber, it's a different story. But in game one, strictly speaking, I think Cleveland will win.
Yeah, well, I do hope so. But I think. What do you guys think of that series?
I don't know. It'll be. It'll be one of the most even series. It's the 5-4 matchups. So that's to be expected. Like you said, New York's they haven't played up to expectations because coming into the series, you look at that lineup, you go, it's a bunch of world beaters. They'll be fine. But then Tampa Bay comes and shows them up. So I don't know. It'll be close. It's hard to talk about the AL Central teams like we have been with Minnesota, Chicago, and Cleveland because they're all so even that in the matchups against other teams in the league, it's like, okay, well, we don't know what they can do against other teams in the league because we've seen them beat up on each other all year.
That's true. I mean, yeah.
And you can say that for the NL Central, too, when we get over there. But, I don't know. This series could go either way, but I do think New York, in the end, will take games 2 and 3 and move on.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about the Yankees because I'm pretty sure they just dropped 2 of 3, 2 to the Marlins.
Yeah.
So... not to say again, the Marlins are like a decent team now, apparently.
Apparently,
but it's going to be an interesting matchup because it's the loaded pitching staff of the Indians against just the absolute loaded the Bronx Bombers, the loaded bats of this is all they do is they just mash home runs. It feels like every year the playoffs we get the Indians and Yankees, so. I don't know. I don't know what the Indians have to do for it to be different this time so that they're the team advancing and not the Yankees. So because
They gotta hit the ball. They gotta find other guys that can hit other than Jose Ramirez. I mean, he's been carrying the team. He has 17 home runs this year. The next best is 9 at Franmil Reyes, who has had good stretches. But Lindor never really has found his groove yet, which I don't know. Maybe that means that, hey, the postseason's here. Maybe that means this is the time he does it. But
is Lindor still getting traded to the Reds?
I don't think so, Jackson. I don't think it's ever. I think we're gonna ride it out.
They have too many shortstops. They don't need any more shortstops. It's enough.
What do you mean too many shortstops? We have Freddie Galvis.
Didn't you had like Jose Iglesias and you had like 7,000.
Jose Iglesias plays for the Orioles.
Oh well, you did like last year. You guys had your whole infield could have been shortstops. Like you could have sat Joey. No more shortstops.
I will say though, I think pitching matchup aside, I think that'll be the thing to watch in this series. I think it's really fun. I mean, Cleveland side, you got the bullpen, a guy like Brad Hand, who I had him.
Didn't he lead the American League in saves? Yeah,
he did. He had 16, a 2.05 ERA. I mean, he got his form together. James Karinchak, who's been one of the best guys. He's been an 8th inning guy for us. So I don't know.
So what you're saying is this Cleveland team has a couple of good starters and good relievers, and if that sounds a little familiar to the 2016 team, maybe they go on a run.
And it's all about being able to hit and find a way to get to the starter. You look in game 1, just find a way to get to Garrett Cole because he strikes a lot of guys out, and so they get
easy as that, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But I don't know. That'll be a fun matchup. Looking forward to that one starting tomorrow. So.
All right, finally, the only league that matters, the National League.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Cleveland fan, but
American League's better.
I actually gave my pick on who I think is going to win. I do think the Indians. I think they pull it out this time in a 3-game series.
I do too.
I think because I've always been. I always say if you've got pitching, it gets you just a little further. If the Indians they can squeeze out a few clutch hits, I think that helps their case. But
what do you think of like pitching like I know they're not going to do it, but like putting Shane Bieber in game 2 or something like that, where you maybe have a more favorable matchup, and maybe you throw a guy like a Carrasco or Plesac in game 1.
No, I think you go best against best because
best against best.
Yeah, what's the point of not doing that? Like I get you might get a more favorable matchup, but maybe Plesac outmatches the Yankees' second starter. I don't even know if the Yankees put out their 3-game starters. I'm going to go to their.
I saw it was Tanaka. It's Garrett Cole, and then I think it's Masahiro Tanaka in game 2, and then J.A. Happ maybe if it should go to game 3. But I don't know. I mean, you got to get past game 1. But I think that game 1's huge for New York. I really do. So, but. I don't know. Turning to the National League, guys, if you want to jump into that.
Yes, please.
Dodgers and Brewers, the 1-8 matchup there. That seems like a David versus Goliath matchup to me, at least on paper. You have a team in Los Angeles, 43-17 overall. They just are so fundamentally sound. And against the Brewers, who have just been interesting. They've been an interesting team to watch because they've had a guy like a Christian Yelich, who was the MVP last year, who just has never really found his form this year. He batted .205 and just could never really figure it out. And I
don't think we need to spend a lot of time here because I think it will be LA.
I guess the storyline here, does the Brewers have any shot to win? Like, I mean, give me the scenario that works. Give me a way. Give me a alternative kind of path here for the Brewers to win.
I'm assuming that if it'll all come down to the Dodgers starting pitchers, which I think will be solid because like game 1, I assume will be Walker Buehler.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as the Dodgers starting pitchers can be solid and not give up hits to the likes of Eric Sogard and the rest of that Brewers lineup, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the Brewers pull through with a couple of weird hits here and there, but other than that, I don't know. I think it's pretty set and dry. If the Brewers have a lead going late into the game and they can get some of those relievers they have out, who have been good all year, and like traditionally now Josh Hader, one of the best closers, if they can get Hader into a game with a lead, I think maybe the Brewers have a chance, but I don't know.
I'd have to agree with that. I think the Brewers, what they need to do is they need to find a way to get the jump early, and then but that's what they've always done in the playoffs. They got to the NLCS 2 years ago, literally on the strength of Josh Hader and like their bullpen, like Jeremy Jeffers, Corey Knebel, I think it was, and Hader, and now they've got this kid Trevor Williams, he could very well be the rookie of the year, in my opinion. I mean, the kid's incredible. Like the numbers she's putting up out of the bullpen are a small sample size, but they're ridiculous. So I think if the Brewers can use their bullpen like they have, that gives them a shot. But I don't know if they get a lead, if they'll be able to hold it just when the starters are in, just because the Dodgers are so good. A lot of teams, their stars, they kind of struggle this season, but not the Dodgers. I mean, Cody Bellinger had a great year again. Mookie Betts, I mean, that bet paid off big time. They 100% got, they got what they needed out of those guys. But, I think the other thing for me, of course, Yelich, it depends on what his batting average is at Dodger Stadium. There's some parks he really likes, others he struggles at. Like Wrigley Field, for example, he does not hit well at Wrigley. But I mean, Miller Park kills it there. If he's and I think too, warmer weather out there in LA, maybe it'll help out the bats a little bit. It's possible. I don't think the Brewers are going to beat the Dodgers. I think they could steal a game. I think it could go 3 games because the Brewers are definitely a postseason team. They like to flip the switch there, I feel like, but we'll see. The Dodgers team, again, they're a juggernaut. It's just so hard to get past them.
Yeah, quick aside. Do you guys think, looking at this Brewers-Dodgers matchup where you have an NL Central team versus an NL West team, in a typical year, all the National League teams would play the other National League teams at least 2 series. But this year, obviously, that wasn't the case. So do you think that a team like the Brewers or maybe like the Dodgers, for instance, who maybe don't have any video or like something to look back at of like, oh, hey, here's why we matched up against them last time we played them. They're just having to watch kind of tape or they're just having to watch games from opponents that, other opponents that they played this season. Do you think there's any advantage or maybe disadvantage for a team like the Brewers to maybe have a shot here?
I think, I'll be honest, I think in that scenario, that definitely benefits the lower seeded team. I think because you can almost treat it like the element of surprise. You're facing a team that you haven't seen all year, but they haven't really seen you. And it's not like these teams have had like 2 weeks to figure out who they're going to play. I mean, for the most part, the matchups were set in stone last night. There's a lot that was still variable, and now the playoffs start tomorrow. So that is not a lot of time for these teams to do scouting, the kind of scouting like you're talking about that they would do in a normal regular season. So I think they're going to have to rely on a lot of just the talent they have. You got to get hot at the right time, but I do think in that case that's something that could benefit the Brewers. They can, baseball. It's not like basketball where you can throw out different like plays, different looks and stuff. That's just not how baseball works. But I think it's entirely possible that you change your lineup card a little bit, or with pitching changes and whatnot. Again, that's Craig Counsell's forte, is he knows when to use pitchers and stuff, when to make those changes. So I think it's quite possible that something like that could benefit the Brewers. But I mean, it also, I think it just adds this like a layer of difficulty for all the teams, because no one really knows what's going to happen with who, because they just, save for the teams that are in the same division. If we were to get an all NL Central divisional series, which is possible, then obviously that's a different story because they've all faced each other multiple times this season. But I think in this first round, there's some weird stuff that could happen.
I think that the Brewers get a game off the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers will win in 3, but I do think as far as matchups that the Dodgers teams that they could have faced, I think they're pretty happy to see Milwaukee as the team that's coming to town. So I will say that.
You're right. So do we want to move on to the next matchup?
Yep. Next one we have on the agenda here. Yours truly, Jackson. We have the Red Legs versus the Atlanta Braves. That series, of course, the Reds. When was the last time they made the postseason, Jackson? Tell the people.
2013. It's been 7 years, and that 2013 wild card game has scarred me for life. We don't talk about that in this household. The Reds. Stop. I said we don't talk about it. And the year before that, Matt Latos gave up a grand slam in Game 5 of the NLDS to Buster Posey, but that's fine. That's
your boy Matt Latos.
Yeah, whatever. We don't talk about that either. But no, against the Braves in the AL, the 7-2, I said that was going to be an upset. I think this is also very good to be an upset too, because the Braves can hit, but they're going to have to hit off of a first three of Trevor Bauer, Luis Castillo, and then Game 3 would be Sonny Gray. And I think that's the best 3-game rotation in the league right now. Like, you can't beat it. One of the NL Cy Young candidates, Luis Castillo, and then Sonny Gray. And then the Braves starting pitching, I don't know who it's going to be. I think Max Fried in Game 1.
If he's healthy, yeah.
Yeah, if he's healthy.
He's got an ankle injury, yeah.
Yeah. And then the Reds have the advantage there because their lineup, the numbers aren't great, but in the last 2 weeks, they've really come alive, and there's not a hotter team in the league. I mean, they had to win the last 5 series of their year to even make the playoffs. So they're coming in with a lot of momentum. And then Atlanta, they can hit. Obviously, I mentioned that. Ronald Acuna leads the league in multiple things. I think it's like average and home runs for the National League. But, this Braves lineup is scary, but if anybody can handle it, it's going to be Cincinnati starting pitching. And the only issue is going to be Cincinnati's bullpen, maybe, who have been prone to give up a few home runs here and there. But lately, they've been really good. Michael Lorenzen has been incredibly useful. They've been using Wade Miley in a bullpen spot now. Raisel Iglesias has come back to his true form recently. Desclafani has been used in a bullpen spot recently as well, with less success than some of the other guys. But having that arm in the bullpen is really valuable still, because he's used to starting, and especially with his background being the NL East, getting traded from the Marlins a few years ago to the Reds, he might know what it's like to pitch against an opponent like this. Who knows? I don't know if that's going to help at all, but I can think so. I can hope so. Yeah. The only thing that worries me as an actually thinking about the series is the Braves bats. I mean, it was Acuna who took a ball almost 500 feet the other day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's gonna be the key, is if the Reds starters and bullpen can handle this lineup.
I mean,
but I think they can.
I think it wasn't Atlanta that was the team that scored, I want to say like 28 runs or something in a game this year. I mean, Adam Duvall had 3 home runs, if I'm correct.
I swear if Adam Duvall walks off the game to beat the Reds, I will lose my mind. I will throw my phone through the wall.
Oh, the Braves. This matchup reminds me a lot of like the Indians and Yankees, in that the Braves just have such a high-powered offense. They've got 2 MVP candidates this year, not named Ronald Acuna, in Freddie Freeman and Marcell Ozuna.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Freddie Freeman. He's been having an incredible year, as you mentioned.
He's probably going to win the MVP, I think. But then
how amazing!
Led the National League in home runs with 19.
Crazy that Freddie Freeman's not even the best first baseman in this series.
I mean, whatever. How isn't it amazing? I mean, I think it was Freddie Freeman before the season started. He was battling coronavirus, and I remember he was almost kind of uncertain if he was even going to play this year, and because I know it got pretty bad for him. And there he goes, on a tear. 341 batting average. He had 13 home runs and 53 RBIs in only 60 games. And then Marcell Ozuna, a guy who the Braves go out and just grab in free agency, take him from the Cardinals, I believe it was. And they just, all he did is produce out there.
Yeah, Marcell Ozuna was a cool pickup. I'm glad he went there, because I hated to watch him in a Cardinals uniform because I loved him so much in Miami. It was just weird. But yeah, no, I don't know, man. This is going to be a fun series. This is going to be one of the most fun ones, because you get a matchup of Trevor Bauer versus Freddie Freeman in this game, in this series.
Jackson, it's interesting because, with Oakland, we're talking about Mark Hanna being the team leader in batting average, but with the Reds, it's Joey Votto who leads the team in qualified players at 226. I saw.
Yeah, I
Which is-
said, the numbers don't look great, but they are the hottest team in the league right now because they have that momentum. It's been a team effort. There hasn't been one guy. It's the entire lineup scrapping for clutch hits when they need it. And they've been doing it at the end of the regular season against good teams. They took 2 out of 3 against the White Sox. They took 2 out of 3 against the Cardinals, 2 out of 3 against the Twins, and 3 out of 4, I think, against the Brewers, if I'm not mistaken. So against 4 playoff teams, they've won their last 5 series. I think the other one was against the Pirates. So take from that what you will.
Okay.
But
by the way, do you think Trevor Bauer wins the NL Cy Young?
I don't know. It's close. Darvish leads in more categories and more advanced stats, which I think is more valuable. But also the voters are more traditional. So I think they'll look at Bauer leading an ERA and think, oh, he was the best pitcher.
Yeah,
so,
100 strikeouts too. I mean, Darvish is great. I mean, that's going to be a close race, I think.
Yeah.
I'll also throw in, just on the NL Cy Young, Jacob deGrom. I mean, he hasn't really done anything that would suggest, well, he can relinquish his title. I mean, he's still got like a sub-2 ERA. Like, the guy's incredible, and why wouldn't they give him the 3-peat? I think it's going to be Darvish, personally, but,
All right, Cubs fan. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But
so,
this,
who do you got in the series, though? Yeah.
I have the Reds, and I think it's going to be Reds in 3. I think they'll come out strong, win game 1 with Trevor Bauer. Luis Castillo, with his youth, won't, in his first time being in the playoffs, might not know how to handle such a stacked lineup on that stage on national TV. And, I don't know if the pressure gets to Castillo that often. I don't know. This is the first time for a lot of this lineup they'll be in this stage because the Braves made the playoffs last year, so they have this experience.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sonny Gray, he has some experience making it with some A's teams and the Yankees. In game 3, I think he'll come in and shut it down, but I think it all depends on stopping that Atlanta lineup. And if they can do that, the Reds, I think they'll take it in 3.
Yeah.
Honestly, man, I have no idea, because the Braves, they're a good team, but also the NL East is not a good division. So
but you can say that about the NL Central too.
You could, but I mean,
I wouldn't.
They got 4 teams in, but the Brewers are under 500. The Reds and the Cardinals are 2 games over 500.
Yeah, but I mean, look at they also face the AL Central.
Exactly, which is where,
to me,
I have the narrative that the Central divisions are the best divisions in baseball.
I agree with that. I feel like even the Brewers, had it been a longer season, I think they would have had a better shot at finishing over 500, maybe only a game or 2. But the just in 60 games, it's so misleading. Look, the Nationals were 19-31 last year, right? I mean, in this season, I think they started 19-31 again. That completely disqualifies you from the playoffs. So I think the smaller sample size kind of jades things a little bit. I feel like, again, I mean, I'll stick with my guns. Pitching wins. Pitching wins in playoffs.
Pitching wins.
So I think the Reds in that case take it in 3. But I mean, it'll be a close series. And
we almost got a really fun series in the Dodgers and Reds, which would have been insane because that would have been 2 really good pitching teams with, again, another stacked lineup in LA.
Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah. But I think the Braves matches up really well for this lineup. They get a break facing not that stacked of a starting rotation in Atlanta. So
I agree. I take the Reds in 3 as well. But I would say that game 1 is so critical. If Cincinnati doesn't win game 1, they're not winning the series. They gotta win. Trevor Bauer's got to go out there and get him game 1.
But we can't ignore. I think it was last year Atlanta in game 1 to the Cardinals in the playoffs gave up 10 runs in an inning. So who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
That's what Atlanta has to avoid, is that happening again.
I know. I agree.
Sounds so silly to say, but it's a real possibility.
Yeah.
And they have to avoid big innings.
Yeah. In a 3-game series, everything is so magnified. I agree with Jordan. If you don't win the first game, I think you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I think because all the pressure. It's not like it's a 5-game, not even a 5-game series where you have if you're down 2-0 in a 5-game series, it's cause for concern. In a 3-game series, you're down 1. If you lose one more game, if you make one mistake,
and that's the fun thing about these series is it's 3 days back to back to back. There are no off days. So the Reds and the Braves will start play on Wednesday, Thursday, and then if needed, they'll play on Friday. So you don't get that time to regroup mentally. You have to go.
That'll be interesting for bullpens too to see how that plays. Like that, if you have a bad game, you give up a lot of runs.
But it seems like a novel idea in the playoffs, but this is just how a normal series would be in the regular season. So,
well, exactly. But now the pressure's on because if you don't win, it's over.
Yeah. So
you just have to win the series.
Mm-hmm. So another NL Central, NL East matchup moving along. You got the Chicago Cubs, 34-26, the 3 seed against the Miami Marlins, who I think to many were surprised, especially with the way they started. I think they started the year, maybe 6-0. I want to say maybe something like that, and then they cooled down a little bit, but still, no one saw Miami getting here. We talked about Don Mattingly, the work that he did to get his team, especially handling that COVID outbreak that happened early on in the season. So really, Miami it's a heck of a job that they're even in this position. But I guess looking at this series, how they match up against the Cubs, I think the Cubs take this series. I think they win in 2. I don't think the Marlins get a game. I don't.
I don't know, dude. Sixto Sanchez is going to go out there and put on a hell of a performance for Miami,
Got the best name in baseball, yes.
He very well could. Rookie of the Year candidate, I think, for the Marlins there. I mean, again, like we've talked about all show, the Marlins, it's just so impressive how they were able to go through the 170 roster moves and all that stuff and to be where they are. But to me, the Cubs pitching, again, the bullpen gives me a little cause for concern. But, I mean, the 2 starters you're going to face right off the bat are going to be Yu Darvish and Kyle Hendricks in either order. I don't know.
Cy Young candidate and then the professor, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, to me, for a Marlins team, I don't know how they handle that necessarily. I don't really know much about their offense. And again, like we were talking about with the earlier with the Brewers, not seeing these teams, not really having the scouting reports, that it throws stuff out the window. But to me, I just like the Cubs overall. I think their offense, the last series against the White Sox certainly gives me hope because they've kind of been cooled off by the Indians pitching. But I don't think the Marlins have half of what the Indians have pitching wise. Or I'm sorry, it was against the Pirates the Cubs struggled. Okay, so
struggling against the Pirates is pretty worrying, indeed. I can't lie, that's not a great look.
But then they go and put up 25 runs in 3 days against the White Sox, who that's kind of just the Cubs' MO the last couple of years is like they're almost playing to the level of their team, which is not a good thing. But I like the pitching. I think Ian Happ has been great all season for the Cubs. Jason Hayward's been great. Chris Bryant, all of a sudden he's heating up again. I think the Cubs, they'll win this series. I think they win it in 2. I don't think
that's fair. Yeah, I can deal with that.
But I mean, the Marlins are going to put up a fight because that's what they've done all season. They took 2 of 3 from the Yankees in that final series of the regular season, if I'm not mistaken. They are a good baseball team. So it's not like it's going to be 2 10-0 blowouts by the Cubs. Like, there'll be games, but I think the Cubs take it. They just have the playoff experience, and I think they have the better pitching.
It'll be interesting, and I think Miami might do something wild, but I think in the end it's just safer to go with the Cubs pick. Mm-hmm. I would like to see Miami move on, but I think it will be Chicago.
Yeah, so, I wouldn't be choosing. I'll say this also as a pessimistic Cubs fan. I wouldn't be surprised if the Marlins come and just completely startle the Cubs and just knock them out like that. It's because that'd be a very Cubs thing to happen, especially
Lewis
this season.
Kind of back series of his lifetime.
God forbid.
He's wearing the Miami Heat jersey under his actual jersey, so you know what? He's rocking the Heat momentum going into the.
If
Yeah.
they did some of the magic the Miami Heat have going on, then
Lewis Brinson is channeling
mad about it.
Bam
That's-
Adebayo, Tyler Herro, and Duncan Robinson right now. So that's dangerous. So yeah, I think we can move in. Is this our last matchup? We finally made it.
Yeah, we finally made it.
Woo!
So we got Padres and Cardinals. Padres, arguably, I'd say maybe the most fun team in 2020. I would say, in my opinion, just
The most
because
controversial for stupid reasons, for sure.
I just think that they have, they've found a star, and I think this was really Fernando Tatis's kind of his breakout to the league. Like, hey, everyone put him on notice, and
we knew Tatis was good.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
This is him saying, "Hey guys, I'm actually great.
I'm a force to be reckoned with." Absolutely. He was great. Manny Machado. I think he's finally living up to that contract they gave him. 304 batting average, 16 homers, 47 RBIs last year.
And let's not ignore.
And Will Myers too.
Wow, my voice just cracked so hard. I'm so sorry. That happened on live streaming. Wow. Anyway, again, let's not ignore the Padres have brand new uniforms too. I think that plays a lot into it. They're beautiful. They have the best uniforms in the league for sure. Maybe other than Miami, but that's another thing.
No, but San Diego, I mean, they went out and you look at what they did at the trading deadline, getting guys like Mike Clevenger, who was really big, and Indians were able to kind of make him expendable, and so some of the moves that they made. I mean, I don't know. This is a team that really hasn't had. I mean, they've tried in recent years getting guys like Eric Hosmer from Kansas City in free agency, Machado from Baltimore, kind of slowly building up to a roster for this kind of thing, and they're going for it. And I know that they've been sellers consistently, but this year is not the case. They're going for it, and it's kind of a shame that they're the 4 seed. Just based on everything. Because I think that it's tough. I think they're the second best team in the National League behind the Dodgers, and I would say the Cubs and Braves are all in the mix there. But I like the Padres right up there with the rest of them, especially this year.
I would agree with that statement 100%. I think the Padres are the second best team.
Slam Diego.
Even they fell victim to the seeding. They have a better record, I think, than the Braves and the Cubs. Mm-hmm. But they're the 4 seed. I'll put it like this: it's going to be Padres in 2, and it's not going to be particularly close.
I want to believe that too. Will. I want to believe that too. But it is the playoffs. It's St. Louis, and they do some weird stuff, dude. Harrison Bader hit a ball into the second deck in Busch Stadium the other day, and if he's doing that against the Padres. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm going to hate everything because as much as I don't like the Cardinals, I think they can make it interesting. Just because they're St. Louis.
I believe it's Cardinals Devil Magic.
Exactly.
Is the term we refer to. But
I mean, just look at what they did last year against the Braves. We talked about it. The Braves going into that series, it was, it's just St. Louis. Atlanta's hot. They're going to be great. They're going to be great. They're going to beat St. Louis. And then St. Louis dropped 10 in an inning or 10 in a game. So, who knows if that'll happen to another young playoff team in San Diego?
But I like the Braves. They didn't have a Eric Hosmer, who is a 2-time pennant winner, World Series champion.
I agree with you 100%. And on paper, you're right. It shouldn't be close. But I have this weird respect for St. Louis, where I expect them to do well in the playoffs.
I think
just because. Fear. Yeah, it's more fear than respect. You're right. But, I don't know. I see St. Louis in the playoffs, and I go, well, they don't have the best roster or the best pitching or the best hitting, but it's St. Louis, and in the playoffs, they've been known to look at those facts, throw them out the window, and still perform when they need to. So, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
Although Yadier Molina's last at-bat possibly at Busch Stadium for the Cardinals was a ground into a triple play, so that was beautiful. That was delicious.
But real talk, though, I feel like the Padres, the pitching staff is great. You've got Clevenger, Paddock, Dinelson, Lamet.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. Yeah.
Really.
Oh no.
No, did I break up there? Did we?
No, you broke
Yeah,
up
you
a little
did.
bit, but we should be
Man.
okay.
Anyway, I think they're a real. Yeah, I think they're a
no.
really good team. I think they'll take care of their business. But then again, we probably did say the same thing about the Braves last year. So I guess we got to take it with a grain of salt because I mean, this Cardinals, they too are built for the playoffs. They're like the Brewers.
Yeah.
I
got.
hate how scary St. Louis is.
Yeah. I think that alone, I agree, guys. There has to be some sort of respect given to St. Louis, given their postseason history, which is, I think San Diego will win in 3. I think that I don't know. You can't count the Cardinals out, and I don't know. San Diego's very new into this postseason thing. It's been a while, but I do think this is an intriguing matchup. I mean, again, I just love 8 teams from both leagues, tons of baseball. I mean, more playoff teams means more baseball. You know, more teams have a shot to win at the World Series, get a shot at the World Series. So we'll see how it goes. Does any team, guys, appear to be a lock to you to maybe advance to the second round? I mean, I know we talked about the Dodgers, definitely. Maybe the Cubs as well. What do you guys see?
I think the only matchups that are the 1 and 8s, I think Tampa and LA are the only 2 teams that I would confidently say will make the divisional series. Other than that, I could really see each series going either way. Maybe San Diego is a lock, but I don't know. Once again, I fear the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I guess we don't want to jinx it. I'd agree. I feel like Tampa Bay. The Blue Jays just aren't there yet. It'll be fun because it's 2 NL East teams that aren't the Yankees and Red Sox. I think that's kind of cool. But I think the Rays are in very comfortable shape there. Dodgers, I'd probably agree with that. I can't say they're a total lock, but I mean I'd put like, I'd say like they're 90%. Like they're the team that's gonna advance out of that series.
yeah. All right, guys. So I think as we've kind of touched on all the different series, I think we should maybe make a pick or call it now as the postseason begins tomorrow. I mean, anyone feel like they want to take a shot at this first?
Reds Rays World
man.
Series. Reds win the World Series.
What's your real prediction? Is that your real prediction?
That is my real prediction. I've been saying that since the beginning of the season.
Okay. Well,
At first it was a joke, but now I don't think it's so crazy.
I mean, it's possible. They could get, both teams could just, straight get hot at the right time. That's all. That's really all it's about, is getting hot at the right time.
I think the NLCS will be Reds Dodgers and the ALCS will be Tampa Minnesota. And then Reds Rays World Series. Reds win the World Series. I have to speak it into existence.
You
I'm
do.
sorry.
You do.
All right.
Go ahead. Well, yeah.
For sure. For me, I mean, obviously, I'd love to see a Cubs Sox World Series, get a crosstown, subway
That would
series
be
going
fun.
on. Yeah, that would be. I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't know how realistic that is, though. I mean, say for this last series, which was fun to see between the two of them, I think both teams kind of came into the playoffs cold. Maybe they jump-started each other's offenses, and we'll see. But both kind of backed into their playoff spots. Which I mean, you'll take it. They Cubs won their division. White Sox first time in the playoffs, and I think, like I said, over in 12 years. So you like the chances there. I think realistically, I think the Dodgers are back in the World Series. I mean, the offense is going to carry in there this time. And then out of the AL, I'll be honest, I like the Rays. I really do. It's kind of boring, 2 number 1 picks. But I mean, the Rays are just they're a good team. I think if they can get kind of a favorable path through the playoffs, if they don't get a team that's getting hot at the right time, or I feel like there are some upsets. I think it depends on how the bracket plays out. And too, the Rays would play the winner of the Indians or the Yankees. I could see the Yankees maybe giving the Rays some trouble, because you got to remember too, the division and championship series will be played in Arlington at Globe Life Park and then at Petco Park. So these will be, you'll have to factor in like how the teams work at the stadium. But I like Dodgers, Rays. I could see for the championship series, I think it'll be Dodgers, Padres. Or actually, it can't be Dodgers, Padres. I take that back. I'll say Dodgers, Cubs, NLCS, and I will say Twins, Rays, ALCS.
Okay. I like how we agree on the Twins Rays, and I think that'd be a fun series just between the Rays pitching and the Twins batting. And I think that's a lot of the series actually, just in the first round, is pitching versus batting.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Jordan, what's yours?
Yeah. So, like I said, guys, I'm not huge on the Rays. I don't think they get to the World Series. I think
fair.
I think the Blue Jays will actually. I think they'll give them I think that'll be an interesting series, but I do think the Rays should win that. However, I think we're going to get a rematch of the 2016 World Series. I think it's going to be Cubs Indians. I'll tell you why. I think that pitch. I look at pitching for both of these teams. You have Yu Darvish, you have Kyle Hendricks. You have guys on both sides: Shane Bieber, Carlos Carrasco, and I think pitching is so important. And I don't know. I mean, Will, you could maybe more about the Cubs bullpen, but I've been pleased with Cleveland's bullpen this season. I think they've definitely been able to work out any kinks or things like that. I don't know. It's all about offense, and it's kind of crazy. The Indians had an 8-game losing streak at one point this season, but now they seem that they've turned it around and are playing better baseball. It's all about if they can score. And I like their matchups as you look. They get past the Yankees. I like them against maybe a team like a Rays or Blue Jays, and then you're in the ALCS and you go from there. I don't know. I think this will be fun. But I do like the Cubs, and I can't buy into the Dodgers yet. I don't know. I mean, I know they've been to the World Series. They've been in that stage, but they haven't been able to close the deal. I know it's been since 1988. What I think was the last time they won. Yeah. And I don't know. At some point, in my opinion, you got to start asking yourself, is this a managerial decision like Dave Roberts, or is this some of the players just not executing? If the Dodgers don't get to the World Series this year, which they should, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think you got to start asking some questions. But I got Cubs, Indians, and then I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to pick. It's going to break my heart if I pick the Cubs, but it would probably happen again. So I don't know. I don't think Cleveland's good enough to win it all, but I think they're good enough to get there. So I think, and you especially look at the head-to-head matchups between those two teams. Cubs have won 4, Indians have won none. So,
we've lost Jordan, or I've lost myself. I don't know which. Let me. Oh, it is just me. All right, yeah, we've lost Jordan and Will, it would appear. I don't know what happened, and I don't know how I'm the only one still broadcasting. That's awkward. So, yeah, he has Chicago and Cleveland in the World Series. My personal views on this are that neither of those teams will get there. And I think that's kind of a fun pick, but also just will never happen. Chicago, because, well, I just don't see him making it past teams like Atlanta if they make it, or Cincinnati, or LA, or San Diego.